Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guest today is Cheryl SnappConner, the founder and CEO of SnappConner PR, and one of the top, maybe perhaps, Cheryl, you'll confirm this, but maybe the most read contributor to Forbes ever in history. Cheryl, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I think I'm the most followed. I don't know if I'm the most read, but hopefully I'm doing a good job.
You're doing a great job. Now, your 13 Things piece that you wrote a few years ago, that isn't it the most read single piece on Forbes, I believe?
I think so. It actually had a key role in the ebook that I wrote, so that was a fun experience.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Cheryl, we're thrilled to have you. I mean, you really are one of the world's great experts on PR and media, and you have the benefit of being both a journalist and a PR expert, and so we get the opportunity to hear from you as an expert on both of those things. But you actually introduced me to Forbes, and it's been a great privilege of mine to work as a Forbes contributor now, having posted 300 or more articles myself. But one of the things that I noticed is that there's a huge variation in the way that the subjects I write about utilize the press that they get in Forbes. I tend to write positive stories, so most of the stories I've written are pretty favorable. I think you tend to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. You seldom call people out for being naughty. It's not that it's never happened, but you tend to be pretty excited about profiling people who've been successful. Mm-hmm. How would you encourage people to take advantage of the fact that you've just written a piece about them on Forbes and give them the opportunity to get that really valuable branding?
Well, I think it's important for anyone to realize that the press is a different animal than it used to be. It's a participatory sport. So much of the success that happens is going to be reliant on that article subject themselves. If they spread it, if they share it, if they put it on their website, if they put it on their social media, and if they invite their community to weigh in, it will make a big, big difference. I think many times they're not aware, and it's kind of hard on a reporter, in fact, if you get hit up and hit up and hit up. And in fact, sometimes once you even agree to the interview, the person who has pressed you so hard checks on out. They don't care. They think their job is done. Honestly, most of the success that message is going to have is dependent on them. Not just giving a good interview, but helping to build and share the following for that story afterwards.
There are a few articles, like the one you wrote, that have a life that seems maybe a little surreal, as it seems everyone in the world reads the article. But that isn't really the rule, right? Not all of your articles have been read 15 million times, right?
No. And in fact, it's much better that most of them haven't, because they're really geared towards a specific audience. And so it's not so important you reach 10 million people as you reach perhaps the 1,000 people who really matter, who are going to really resonate hard with that message and know what to do with it. So getting to them is a key thing. And in fact, that is a key. I might just mention, if people are sharing an article on social media, hashtag search term. You, for example, if you put it on LinkedIn, there are going to be 400 million subscribers. And if 1,000 of them matter to you, if you put that search term out there and if you've hashtagged it, you're going to make it far easier for people whenever it is in time to find that piece of content and to do what you hope is going to happen with it.
Yeah, so for our social entrepreneurs, the hashtag Socient, SOCENT, is a popular hashtag. For our impact investing friends, IMP, INV is a popular hashtag that gets you noticed. I also use hashtag nonprofit when I'm talking about that. I think that's a great tip, to always hashtag it. You know, Cheryl, one of the interesting things for me is that there's some things I can see people doing. When they tag me in a post, I know they post about it, but that probably doesn't have much influence on whether or not they're getting reads. It only has an influence on whether I know they're using social media. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a good sense, not being the PR pro that you are, of what the people are doing that are really driving traffic to the posts that I make. I had one fellow I interviewed last month for Your Mark on the World, not for Forbes. And the interview I did with him has now been viewed 10,000 times.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and people have watched, on average, half the interview. So people are engaging at a far different level than most. But I have no idea what he's done to make that happen, because I didn't do anything different, and he's getting 10 or 50 more times more views than most of my interview subjects. What do you think he's doing? I'm just asking you to conjecture as an expert.
Well, I suspect that he's better than most already at building a community of following for himself. You're good at that. You've done that. And it makes a big, big difference. For example, if I share one of your articles, I'm sure to include your name in it, not only because I want you to see it, but because you're followed. And so that's a tag for all of the people who follow you, that they're going to want to be alerted. Not only are they going to want to read it, they're probably going to want to share it as well. I'm guessing that that individual has had that level of savvy. He's got following around himself, his project, his topic, and he knows what to do. Just tagging the people who are influencers kind of clues them in and their following in to jump on board. It's something I'm going to want to see, going to want to share.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's done this perhaps in some genuinely authentic way because of the length of time people are watching. Mm-hmm. My sense and experience seems to be that when people stumble upon one of the things that I write, especially the interviews like this that I do, they don't watch as long. Mm-hmm. People who are like your friends, who will tune in to watch this, who really want your insights, they'll watch the whole thing. Mm-hmm. People who stumble upon it will watch for a minute and they'll say, well, I've never heard of Devin or Cheryl. Why am I watching this? And they'll move on. But people that know you or know me, more know you, will want to watch the whole thing. And so it is interesting the way that authentic request that you make to your friends and followers seems to drive that. I think
you're absolutely right. It matters so much. So the fact that you even care to get connected and that you have a community of people, and in fact, some of the people who've been most successful, for example, in crowdfunding, and this really pertains, Jeff Hayes, before he even gets started, he finds out if he's on a topic like diabetes or immunizations, he'll find out before he ever begins where the pockets of people are who are passionate about that issue. And he will start to engage them, get them involved, create a following around that issue before he ever posts project one. Now there's a foundation for it to fall upon, and there are people that he knows are the right people who would care to share it involved. He doesn't go to the press first. And in fact, I kind of joke, sometimes people's path to success is to get to the base of the hill, plant a flag, and hold a press conference. Probably not the best plan. But if you've done your homework, if you've built a foundation, then you speak to somebody credible like you, who's also a great interviewer, talk about this subject in a way that's beneficial to others, not just, hooray, here's my marketing megaphone, but what in this is going to interest and benefit others, then let that good information get shared through these people who already are aligned with you and know they care about your topic. Now it's a whole different level of success.
Yeah, well, you really are, the expert on this. I loved your suggestion you made a minute ago, and I want to come back to it, of tagging the author of the article. And not every author is going to be on all social media platforms, but I know, for instance, I'm on Twitter, very active on Twitter and on Facebook. And when people tag me on those platforms, I tend to reciprocate and share the post with my audience again. So even though I may already have shared it, if they share it and tag me, I'll probably retweet or repost what they've said to give an extra oomph to their post, to bring my audience along. I think that was a great insight. What else, Cheryl, do you think people can do? It seems to me that maybe you mentioned putting it on a website, on your website. That may not drive a lot of traffic in the first 24 hours, but your website will be there for a long time.
Well, it's important to remember, too, that your website is one of the places where you want to coalesce all of the coverage that's occurred. Because however people hear about you, the next things they're going to do after they hear and are a little bit interested is check out your website, maybe run a Google search, or both. And so you want to have that evidence laid out for them to make it findable, to make certain that the topics make good sense over a period of time. If they wanted to map the progress of the project or of you or of the endeavor at hand, these are ways that they can do that. Don't just rely on the day the coverage happened being the end of it. It is a mark in history. It is a part of that timeline that you want to memorialize for people to recognize as an ongoing story from then on. And then back to recognizing the author again, it's also a courtesy. It's a way to thank somebody. And it's amazing how much better that author feels about having gone to that work if they hear a thank you afterwards, as opposed to sometimes an executive assistant calling and saying, please change the spelling of this. She prefers that photograph of herself, and not a word of acknowledgement other than that, then it's even appeared. That's awfully hard to leverage, and you give nobody any incentive to help you in the deal, because then it's kind of clear it was just kind of about you, and you consider the press to be unpaid labor.
Yeah, it is frustrating, and about 1 in 10 of the people that I interview will follow up with a list of edits for the piece. Sometimes those are just corrections, and I appreciate that. I'm always grateful when I get something wrong and someone points it out. But I'm like you. If someone has got a style thing that they're tweaked about, that's really pretty offensive to me. I hate to admit that I'm so thin-skinned, but I don't appreciate people telling me I should have written it this way.
The law of reciprocity. If somebody approaches me, sends a private message and said, by the way, I was sure you wanted to know, I saw a typo in paragraph 3, that's a gift. That's a favor, and we appreciate that. But if conversely, they go out in the comments stream and in a very authoritative, biting way, accuse you of spelling somebody's name wrong for the world to see, that's kind of the opposite effect. Same issue. You did want to correct the typo, but if people approach it graciously, if they appreciate the work, appreciate the support, it makes it much easier for the author to do all they can and to be successful as they can be in sharing it too.
Yeah, boy, I hear that. Well, Cheryl, I want to just take advantage. If you give me 3 or 4 more minutes, I've got just a couple of quick personal questions. I just love to get into your head and understand you better. You and I go back a long way, but there's still some insights I can gather from you and want to. You're really a role model to a lot of people. You are recognized around the world as an authority on communications. Tell me a little bit, if you would, Cheryl, who you look up to, who it is that you look at as a role model.
Well, I look up to people who are using their communication abilities to change the world for good. Right now, the biggest hero I have, Oz Schaefer. He's someone I met just several months ago, an innovator and inventor, but what an individual. He has discovered and contributed his own time to developing a means of detecting the symptoms of concussions with complete accuracy and in an objective way. And if you think about what this means, it's kind of a topic in the news right now because of the movie Concussion. Well, yes, there's the whole issue around professional sports, even semi-professional or college or high school sports. But what about your kids? Girls have more concussions even than boys. Who knew? And the things that parents maybe write off as moodiness or attention deficit, it might be a concussion that was undetected. So having some kind of a means of doing that, he's working on that. I cannot admire and appreciate him for that effort enough. Oz Schaefer. And the foundation that he started is Brains Worldwide. If anyone would like to look at it, he's got an endeavor going right now and would appreciate everyone's support in helping to get out the word.
Well, you'll have to introduce me so I can get him on the show here, Cheryl.
I will, definitely.
Thank you. Now, Cheryl, why do you care about changing the world and making it a better place? I know you do, but what connects you to that?
Well, I have an innate feeling, and some of it, I guess, is spiritual or even religious, that when we are given a gift, that gift comes with a responsibility to use it for good. And I am one of the people who is fortunate to, I believe, be participating in the career I was born to have. I'm a communicator. So I feel that that gift of communications is intended for good use. And so I rejoice in finding ways to use it.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate that. Now, one final thing, and this is where I know you can be powerful as a CEO, as a leader, as the powerful person you are. You know how to make things happen. And everybody who's watching this, whatever else we may have in common, the key thing is we want to do more good in the world. We want to have more impact. And I call these secrets impact hacks. I wonder if you would share with us something that you do that we can all copy to have more impact in the world.
Well, I kind of live out loud. I try to make it a practice to live the way I believe in, but then let people know. So maybe I overpost a little bit, but I'll put things out on social media, share it. If I thought it was a good idea, others may too. Share it. Don't hold it as a secret, but let it get out.
Oh, fantastic. I think that's a great tip. And especially for those with a cause or a passion, to live out loud is a great tip to build a community. A great note to end on. Cheryl, before we go, please tell us how people can follow you, learn more about you. Where do they find you on Forbes? Give us the whole rundown here.
Great. Cheryl Conner or Cheryl SnappConner, SNAPP, any of those ways, thankfully, because I communicate a lot. If you look that up on Forbes, on Google, on Facebook, on Twitter, you can find me any of those ways. Also, a fun project our agency is launching, Content University. So contentuniversity.com is our program to help teach people the skills to publish better themselves so that they can do more of what you and I are doing and get their causes, their businesses, everything they'd like to promote done more effectively, not in a selling or hypey way, but just effectively. The time has come. So I invite everybody to check into that as well, contentuniversity.com.
Fantastic. Cheryl, thank you so much for being with us today. We wish you every success in the great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Devin.
All righty, let's do some good.